Hey everybody, Bob Murnahan here, coming at you again. This is day 4 of 30 consecutive days of guitar tips that I'm putting out. And hopefully I'm hitting on some topics that are helpful to everybody. And if you have any questions, send them my way and I'll try to address them in a future video. Today I want to talk about bar chords. A lot of people have trouble with bar chords. It's probably one of the most frustrating things that guitar players have to learn. And in fact, I know a lot of people that just said, yeah, I'm not even going to learn them, and they just find ways to get by without them, which is difficult. At some point you're going to run into a situation where you need to play a bar chord, even if it's just a partial bar. But I want to give you some tips today that I think will help you overcome the difficulties. So, the biggest problem in a bar chord, and I'm going to use an A bar chord here at the 5th fret, and talk about some ways to make this work for you, and then of course you can move those into different frets. But the problem is getting all the notes to sound right. So a common sound would be something like this instead of this. Okay. Part 1 of this tip gets back to what I started with on day 1, which is finger placement on the guitar. So this is one of the mistakes that I see. Now, on day 1, as you recall, we talked about the best place to fret a note is as close to the fret as you can get without being on top of it. And that's crucial in bar chords. So notice I've got my finger right up. It actually looks like I'm laying on top of the fret, but I'm actually just behind the fret. And I can just bar that and play all 6 strings to make sure they're all sounding. Now, here's one thing that I want to point out. Get my indentation here, the lines on my finger a little more honed in so you can see what they look like. I'm going to show you the side of my finger. Notice the lines here, they're on the thumb side of my index finger. It's not here on this surface of my index finger. If I try to put my index finger flat on the string like this, there's this knuckle right here which sort of goes out, and this knuckle right here which goes in. Both of those things work against you. This surface over here, where I've got the lines on my finger, that's a flatter surface. So that's really where you want your finger to be, making contact with the strings on that side over here, closest to the thumb. So that's number 1. Now, another thing that I see when people are playing bar chords, a lot of times they put their finger in and it's crooked like this. Notice that, up here by the 6th string, I'm close to the fret, but up here on the 1st string, my finger's moving at an angle, and that gets me away from the fret. So I really want this to be right up there next to the fret. Now, how do I get that finger in place? Well, let's put the other 3 fingers in place first, because this really enables the index finger to just kind of fall into place naturally. So I've got my 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the 5th string, my little finger on the 7th fret on the 4th string, my middle finger is on the 6th fret on the 3rd string. So that's basically an E chord shape if I were to play just a regular E chord down here. I'm just taking that shape and moving it up the fretboard, and that's how bar chords work. And if you don't know that, maybe I'll save that for another lesson. This is more on the technique of actually playing the bar chords. But once I get my fingers in place, if I just let my 1st finger just kind of fall down there, notice how it even just kind of tends to roll on its side on its own. So that puts me in position to make the bar chord sound. Now, it does get a little more difficult when you add these other fingers in. And now here's the other mistake that people make. What's the tendency? You get this kind of sound. Everybody starts pressing really hard. It's like, and then, your thumb starts hurting and your muscles in your hand start hurting here and it starts hurting here, and it just turns into a nightmare. That is not the answer to the problem. In fact, I'm going to pull my thumb around here where you can see it and still play this bar chord. So look, I'm getting that bar chord to sound, and my thumb is wiggling around out here. I'm not even using my thumb in the back of the fretboard. So what's the key to that? Well, think about the weight of your arm. So I've got a weight attached to my elbow back here, and I'm just letting my whole arm, the weight of my whole arm, press the strings down. And it really requires then very little, I'm not using my thumb at all really hardly to apply any pressure to get the notes to sound. And if you do those things, then I think you'll find that the bar chords get to be a lot easier. So let's do a quick recap. Number one is where your finger is actually touching the string. So again, that's this inside portion of your finger closest to the thumb. That's a flatter surface. We want it to be right next to the fret. We don't want this angle in here. Right next to the fret. And allow the weight of your arm to make the chord sound. In fact, again, try it without using your thumb at all. There you can see again, you can see my thumb sticking out. Now the thumb certainly adds a little stability, but again, there's that weight, imaginary weight attached to the elbow, enabling the bar chords to sound. All right, there are a few tips for you to help you out with your bar chords. I hope if you're having trouble with them, that straightens it out for you. And I'll see you tomorrow with another lesson.